that report that we read does not match the interview that it was summarized from. And that's a problem. If people were worried about the level of efficiency the Gilbert police have had so far in these investigations, you're not going to be that much more thrilled with them now, because there are some glaring omissions. There are some flat out mistruths and a lot of things missing that made that report read very badly for Melani. And we are jury duty. We have opinions, but that's based off of objective fact finding. And objectively and subjectively at this point, this interview was poorly represented in this report. I don't know if it's going to be a problem if they are going to pursue her like hardcore. But we wanted to share with you and see what you all think.
Hey guys, welcome to the Jury Duty Podcast. We are your hosts. I am Lindsay, and that is my co-host, bestie, Kimberly. Kimberly, how are you?
You know, vertical and ventilating. How are you?
I don't know if you can hear it, but I'm a little ill right now. But I showed up for jury duty.
I was going to say, I'm a medical miracle today. I'm vertical and ventilating. We showed up to do our jobs. I don't know if Lori Vallow
Sure did.
With us. You can't sit with us.
You can't sit with us, Lori Vallow. So if you're living under a rock and haven't heard of Lori Vallow, she was convicted in her third trial. This time it was for attempted murder on Brandon Boudreaux, her former nephew-in-law.
Mm-hmm. And if you don't know about our content, I'll pop all the links to what we've done up there so you can catch up.
Yeah. So since we brought that up, if you feel so inclined, like, share, subscribe if you want. If you don't want to, that's fine. We're happy you're here as you're passing through. We love you. Mm-hmm. We hope you come back. But today, we saw Lori get convicted again. However, I think the biggest thing that people spoke about was a little thing Trina K said.
I guess the defendant has never raised a third-party defense. I'm not sure if she's trying to say that this was all Melani Boudreaux, but that is actually an open investigation that is still ongoing. The state has, obviously in trial, referred to her as an active member of this conspiracy.
Not red flag, bad red flag. Red flag like Melani.
Yeah. This
Not
is
like
more.
We've been talking about it.
This is more of a go team go. Go team go. Yes. Go team.
Yes, very much.
Yes.
Now, not that I'm clapping because I want someone's mom/family member to end up where Lori Vallow is, but I think most of the internet can agree that's where she deserves to be, in the hot seat.
Yeah, and most of our comments on our Brandon and Melani content have been, why not Melani? Why not Melani? Mm-hmm. We had the same questions. So, we want to talk to you about something. Kimberly and I have talked about this, but we have not talked about this. You and me and Kimberly.
Yes.
We have
this
all
not. This is going to be a long one.
This is going to be a little bit of a long one, okay? But
we're going to edit as little as possible so we can just jump in. But you've been warned. This one's a long one, but there's a reason. So stick with us. Continue. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. No, you're good. Stick with us. So we are going to discuss a Melani interview, okay? I know I've caught your attention already. I've got your attention. So I'm going to kick it to Kimberly because Kimberly is the holder of all the tea right now, okay? All right, Kimbo, let's go.
Big job. Well, before we get into the issue of our hackles being raised, because they certainly are, the last episode we were reading the 6-page report about the interrogation that Gilbert police did the very next day, October 3rd, after Brandon's attempted shooting. And I'll pop that up here for you, had a lot of eyebrow raising questions and a lot of like, that's a bad look. But before I get into it, we have the video of that, which initially I didn't think existed. And I want to do real quick 2 things. Shout out to Catherine Pesa, who supports my decision to wear my Michael Myers No Lives Matter shirt. I keep forgetting to say it. You're a peach. And thank you to Joy Brewer 2376 for posting the link to this interview so that we can have our minds bent. So we also appreciate everyone that leaves comments, feedback. My health has not been great lately, and it's caused a little bit of a slowdown for us, unfortunately, and we really want to engage more in the comments with you. So thank you all for continuing to leave comments. We do read them all. We do talk about like, oh my God, this person's right. We're behind right now, okay? We're behind. We love you. Thank you for spending your time with us. But what I want to get into is how that report that we read does not match the interview that it was summarized from. And that's a problem. I don't know how big of a problem, so Lindsay and I might have to call in an expert, but if people were worried about I don't want to say confidence, but if people were worried about the level of efficiency the Gilbert police have had so far in these investigations, you're not going to be that much more thrilled with them now, because there are some glaring omissions, there are some flat out mistruths, and a lot of things missing that made that report read very badly for Melani. And we are jury duty. We have opinions, but that's based off of objective fact finding. And objectively and subjectively at this point, this interview was poorly represented in this report. I don't know if it's going to be a problem if they are going to pursue her like hardcore. But we wanted to share with you the glaring discrepancies between the two and see what you all think. And it doesn't change our opinion about Melani's being culpable, but it raises my hackles just a little bit. A little bit.
Hey, we've said this before. We got to give credit where credit is due. We got to call it as we see it. I mean, to be clear, think Melani has her dirty little mitts in all of this, and this has been a long time coming, right?
Yeah.
However, we got to clear some of this up so we can all be on the same page. We all have a clear picture of what's happening. There you go.
But also, this is like a sneak peek of a sneak peek of what's possibly coming, but also a little bit of insight into what actually happened in that interview. So we are going to watch bits and pieces. I'm going to jump around. Unfortunately, that report was authored out of order. So I'm just going to go in the order of the timestamps of the video where things appear from that report. Otherwise, we'd be here all damn night. But also, it's blurred out because there's a minor. She does have her little daughter in the room with her, so you won't be able to see much, but we're going to listen to it. And the first stop on that train is about 5 minutes and 30 seconds in. So I'm going to get that all prepped up and then give you some context about why this was importante. And I'm going to pull up the report. So we're just going to be bouncing all over the place. Again, this is October 3rd, 2019, the very next day. The report does mention a lot of what she's talking about, but we're going to expand on quite a bit of it here. So the first thing that raised my hackles 5.5 minutes in is the report made it clear that they chose to communicate via text as much as possible, but not entirely why. It also really leaves out of the context why Melani wasn't answering Brandon's frantic phone calls on October 2nd. We're going to have to pinball around that one too. But let's start about 30 seconds in. This is initially how she explains this to whoever this investigator is, because I have no idea.
Okay, so divorce, and how is your current relationship with?
There's a lot of threats and bullying. I try to just minimize like the texting at all. Last night he kind of blew my phone up and was kind of acting different, and I just didn't want to talk to him. Didn't know what he kind of got himself into, and so relationship isn't like awesome.
So immediately, right out the gate, she says that she didn't want to answer his phone calls the night before because she didn't know what he might have gotten himself into, which we'll dig into a bit as well, because she talks about why she thinks they got divorced. she gives a little context there. I was ignoring his phone calls because I'm not entirely sure why he was calling me. And that was interesting to me because she said she felt threatened and bullied and manipulated by him. So that sort of answered my questions from the last episode where I'm like, you just chose not to answer his calls and texts all night long. Like, that just makes no sense. Well, now it makes a tiny bit more sense, at least to me. We're going to come back to that because it comes up again and it's pretty relevant. But right immediately after this, they start getting into their problems. And there's a lot to unpack in this 2 minutes or so of this interview that doesn't necessarily match the report. So let's look at the report really quick. I asked Melani about the reason Brandon and she filed for divorce. Melani told me Brandon traveled a lot and started making bad business deals. It then goes on to say that she noticed a change in his behavior, believed that it was about stress from work, but didn't know for certain. Melani found a lot of gay activities surrounding Brandon. She described a video of Brandon dancing with another guy on his phone, as well as gay pictures. Melani did not elaborate further. I asked if he had a history of this. She said no. She said he was defensive when confronted and that she suspected Brandon used illegal drugs. She believed he used ecstasy because it was a gay thing, but had no evidence or experiences to substantiate the suspicion other than saying that Brandon wore sunglasses a lot, acted more confident, and lost a lot of weight. Now, in this 2-minute clip, well, you tell us what you think about those answers and those questions.
Years, what happened with you two as far as marriage goes?
So there was a lot of like lies and manipulation. He traveled all the time, sometimes like a month at a time for DirecTV and AT&T. And then this last year I found just some videos, a lot of like gay activity. And I kind of kept it to myself until I knew for sure. He started to do a lot of bad business deals with people that just had many people come to us say, don't do business with this type of person, it's not a good person. I kind of let him deal with the funds because I was doing everything for the kids. They kept me busy. That was my full-time job.
Mm-hmm.
And so just started to find a lot of stuff. And then finally, over the summer, we were on a family trip, and I just kind of felt like I needed to confront him and know for myself. And he kind of flopped that whole thing on me. He said, I'm crazy. There's no way he's doing all those things. He said, I'm crazy. I need to get a mental eval. And he took the kids from me to his parents. And I kind of just kept my peace because I knew, I'm like, okay, I know I'm not crazy, and I know the truth will stand, and so it'll be okay. And, it's been okay. We've been able to work through doing 50-50, but there's still been a lot of, like, money he owes me, a lot of reasons why he can't pay it to me and stuff. So I feel like he's stressed about money to an extreme, which has worried me, and I've noticed some different behaviors with him. I don't know for sure, but I heard that he's been taking drugs, ecstasy, which is like a more common gay thing. I guess I don't know. I'm learning about all this. I've noticed he always has sunglasses on, even when it's dark and I go to pick up the kids. He's got sunglasses on.
So I'm going to stop there for just a second. We're going to get plenty back into that. But she doesn't say that she suspects him of using ecstasy because it is a gay drug, which is pretty much how this report reads. She says someone told her that he might be into drugs and she didn't know. And you can infer that there's some, paraphernalia implanted within a certain faith, a lot of faiths, about homosexuality, drug use, that may have been influenced by some of her church friends, but it's an unfair representation of how she said some of the things she said. The sunglasses, we're going to come back to that too, but it's a sloppy bit of shade. She explains after saying that she heard he was on drugs and that apparently ecstasy was told to her to be some kind of big, gay cultural drug, that he wore sunglasses at inappropriate times, like at night or indoors, to imply, after immediately saying that she heard he was doing drugs, that he was trying to cover his eyes, trying to cover his face, showing signs of drug use. The report makes her sound like a bit of an idiot, correlating sunglasses as a gay accessory rather than to cover up drug use or being tired, and that his behavior was changing, which we're going to continue immediately to get into. But this already gave me the ick less than 10 minutes into this video, and I'm like, maybe that was just, on the investigator's side, maybe that was just a sloppy summary of what happened. But immediately it sent red flags up for me, because it's like, well, she didn't quite say that. And if this is a document and record of your interactions with her that other people will read, like scientific method, you write down your steps so other people can reproduce them, right? You don't half-ass that. You use your whole ass, right? This is like that. This is going to be an official record somewhere. And immediately it kind of looks like, well, that's not really what she said. Or that's not really what she meant, and you knew it, but it gets worse. Lindsay, what do you think so far?
Yeah, okay, so either way, watching this or the report, I mean, she comes across as very naive, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know Melanie, I don't know her mannerisms. This to me sounds like she's kind of making stuff up as she's going along and like putting things into the story that she thinks that he might be like, oh yeah, that's true, that is a gay drug or whatever.
Right.
But to your point, it almost sounds like he was writing it in a way that he was like annoyed by a lot of what she was saying. So he was like summarizing it in a way that it, like his annoyance came through. Does that make sense?
It
Do you know what
does.
I'm saying?
Yeah. And I think the rest of this, when we do comparison, will probably give you more clarity on whether or not you think that's the case, because it's been interesting.
Yeah.
But let's pick it up. We've got maybe 90 more seconds.
All right, let's do it.
And that's before we change topics altogether, because this report is
So yeah, I mean, I've gotten to a point where there's been so many lies I don't believe what he says anymore, so I don't know how to, we're just doing it the best we can, the back and forth, trying to just not see him as much. If it's in a text, most time he tries to be more sweet, and then, in person, more like the bullying, manipulation kind of stuff. And so I feel like the less I say, the less interaction I have with him, and just kind of stay calm is usually better with him.
What's your primary way of communicating?
Just through phone.
Okay. Telephone, or is it text or something else?
We try to just do text, and so he called me a ton of times. Last night he said, "Can I call you? It's important." And I just over and over calls and texts, and I kind of felt like something was off. And so I just didn't answer. This morning he said, "I've had a bad day." And then I responded this morning, and I said, he said, "I just want to make sure the kids are okay." So I was like, "Yeah, the kids are fine. Right there in bed when you called, and we're getting ready for school. It's early in the morning. I hope you're having a better day." But yeah, I tried to only text. That's why it was weird when he was like, "I can call you." Left me a message. He said, "I don't want to talk about it over the phone."
Did you guys talk at all last night?
No, I just texted him this morning.
Okay.
So
And what did you text him this morning?
when or what?
Both.
So I just said, yes, the babies are fine. They were tucked in bed, getting ready for school now. Hope you're having a better day. And that was at 6:52 a.m.
Okay.
So, if I'm bouncing back to this report, Brandon called her multiple times, which was not normal, sent a message that explained he was having a bad day, wanted to check on the kids. Melani said she didn't respond till today, messaged that the kids were okay, hoped his day was better. And that's, I guess, a fair enough summary. However, it's sandwiched into other statements that we're going to get up to, which will make that make sense. But I mean, I think initially you wouldn't take frantic phone calls or text messages. Like, you wouldn't answer somebody that is the father of your child. Like, we were surprised by it, but she gives context to that. If she thinks he's in with bad people and doing all these bad things, and they're not usually on the phone talking, and he won't tell her why he wants to talk to her, let's pretend like she genuinely feels this way. I can understand why she might be hesitant to talk to him or not wanting to get involved in something he's been caught up in if she were completely innocent and had no idea why his day was so bad.
No, I'm
Yeah.
with you. I mean, it makes a little more sense for her to be like, I'm just not dealing with this right now. You know, like
Right.
I don't know what he's doing. Is he calling me drunk? High? I don't want to get into that I don't want that experience, we'll say, right?
Right.
Keep in mind, we Kimberly and I know what's going on, okay? But just for the sake of being like, I can see that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You with us?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you against us? I hope you're with us.
Yeah. So the next section's it's about 3 minutes or so long. We're going back to that first bit of the report that we looked at that elaborates on the state of their marriage and all the things that went wrong, because he immediately circles back to that. And again, it says, found a lot of quote gay activity, described a video of Brandon dancing with another guy and gay pictures. It also says she does not elaborate further. Now, in the next 3 minutes, you guys tell me what you think about how that's represented, because I don't know.
You found things. Tell me more about that.
So I found a video of him dancing at a Pink Pony Club on another guy. I found text messages between him and his business partner, a lot of like gay talk. Found gay pictures. I found like he would do business with someone, lie about money, where it's going, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I didn't really know a lot of the business he was doing. I kind of just let him deal with that. I just wouldn't know where he's traveling because he traveled all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I just, we just knew Dad's gone a lot for work. And but when his business started to go bad with AT&T, he invested all of our savings with a guy who lives here in Gilbert, who a lot of people then came to us and said, don't work with this guy. And ever since then, it's been kind of.
How long ago was that?
I think he did the final investment like in March.
Okay.
So he put just shy of $200,000 into an insurance business.
Mm-hmm.
And then, he just became really stressed about money, traveled. He said he's been traveling to Vegas every week
Mm-hmm.
for some sort of business. So, and I don't know if that's confirmed and true. That's just kind of what I've been told.
Okay. And so you said you found some things that made you believe that he was gay, and then you mentioned drugs. Tell me more about that.
I just noticed his behaviors kind of like ups and downs. Like he would be, he lost I think 70 pounds in 2 months. I've known him for 10 years. He's ran marathons and never been able to lose that weight. And so everything kind of just seemed a little bit off. And then I noticed some days when he didn't have sunglasses on, real just depleted, low energy, really depressed when we'd drop the kids off. And other days, the next day, he'd have sunglasses on, standing up tall, just acting like a total, everything's fine, total confidence.
Mm-hmm.
He had mentioned that some of his guys in his company, I don't know the correct terms on it, but taking it through the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know if they would do gay sex after that to have that. I don't know. Just it kind of all the pieces kind of came together. That would make sense why he's been a little bit stressed out.
Did you ever see any of the drugs?
I didn't.
And then aside from the videos on the phone and everything, did you find any other pornography or anything else? Or did he ever say anything related to any type of homosexuality or being gay or anything along those lines?
He was very defensive over anything gay, always over the top, that's gonna make me sick, but he would have pornography on Pinterest most of the time.
Okay.
And then say, well, I don't know how I got there.
And when you say pornography, tell me, what does that mean to you?
Naked body parts,
Okay.
Naked women, naked men.
So, First and foremost, this report is not nearly, it's way too clean and succinct to actually cover the fact that she spends a majority of this interview actually talking about her primary concern being his bad business deals, the people he did business with, money. She talks a lot about that in this hour-long interview, but also she does give more detail about why she feels the way she does. And the report specifically says she doesn't elaborate further and she has no evidence or experiences that substantiate her suspicions. That sounds like experiences that she just talked about that led or fed her suspicions. And give context to the sunglasses and the weight loss and the confidence. It's not because he's decided he's gay and he wants to say it loud and proud, or because, no, drugs can make you lose and gain weight. Drugs can give you bloodshot eyes and have adverse effects on your personality. And she flat out tells him, yeah, he's told me these stories. It was disturbing to hear her recount that very awkwardly, but also the Pinterest thing, that is very specific. But if you were to read this report and take away some type of opinion, just like we did the first time, it was, she's either a nitwit, a liar, both, and then other things. But that gave me a lot of pause because it's not a true accounting, and this interaction at this point has not actually played out the way that it was summarized.
Yeah, like there's two different vibes, right? There's this that she's kind of awkwardly telling a story, and it doesn't, like, I'm not getting the uncomfortable, like she's uncomfortable talking about this. I'm getting that she's just kind of coming up with stuff to say, like, I think this is what happens when this is going on. I mean, yeah, Brandon probably did seem tired and depressed because of what was happening in his life. But also in this report, it sounded like she was not being forthcoming with anything, you know? Mm-hmm. And so there's just two different vibes. There's this video and listening to her, and then there's this report that's written up. By the way, is that a thing on Pinterest?
You know, I was thinking, I didn't want to test it and find out.
I thought Pinterest was for, like, redoing rooms and just, like, you know, like outfit inspo or something like that.
I'm going to have to take, unfortunately, her word for that one, because I also don't want to Google Pinterest.
No, I know. But I think that it would have been interesting. Maybe interesting is the right word. I don't know what the right word is. But if he would have been like, tell me exactly what you saw on his phone. Because if she's like, I don't know about this, and she's coming across kind of like naive, like ecstasy, I don't know, that's a gay drug, isn't it? You know, and so she's just kind of saying dumb stuff when she's like, there's like gay, him doing like gay stuff on his phone. Well, like, explain that. Not that you know what I'm saying. But, like, to her, what does that look like? Is he, like, putting his arm around his homie and, like, saying cheese? Or is he, like, doing something that actually you have to have a password to look at? You know what I mean?
I mean, I guess I get why he didn't fish further on that, because ultimately they're not there to investigate whether or not Brandon turned out to be gay.
Yeah, no, I know. But I just think... Because, and I guess I ask that because had I known nothing, she's not coming across as that part of the story is truthful.
Right. And there's two ways I can look at this. She's not coming across as truthful, and this is just an excuse that she's leveraging. Or she really is that naive and gullible and enmeshed in whatever her ideologies are that would make this like the worst thing on earth, being gay, doing drugs. There's only one of those two things. She's naive or she's a liar. Neither are great, but I get what he's doing, especially as they continue. He's looking for fault lines and tension points in their marriage to see logically, if there's any reason, someone might want to kill him, you know? So I'll skip a good 15 minutes. I'll just summarize this. They go back to talking about how the marriage deteriorated. Stressors with work, kids. She says that since October 2018, their marriage has sort of fallen apart. She says he became more manipulative, something was off. She said that she started finding all that stuff, you know, that she just talked about. He took a trip to India and found stuff on his computer, and that by the summertime, he was, you know, she was confronting him. He was making her feel crazy, and that he was trying to convince her family that she was nuts. And he asks about their money situation. Is the divorce expensive? And she details a lot. She spends several minutes talking about his different businesses, that he's made a lot of money, that he's lost a lot of money, and that at first they were broke until he started picking up and, you know, investing in businesses, but they were very comfortable. She said that she would notice large chunks of money missing when he was making investments in other businesses, so that was a tension point. And then she starts talking about $30,000 just that past March, that he gaslit her, like, no, that was never there. She's like, but I paid the bills. I saw it was there. Whether that's true or not, don't know, don't care. However, she does spend a lot of time detailing that he made poor business decisions and did business with people that were not savory. And that is why when they were going through their divorce mediation, because remember, we read this part of the report. I'm not going to put it on the screen. It's not even worth it. That just broke down where she was getting money from in their divorce. So she got a redacted payment here, a redacted payment there. She gives context to this. She says she didn't want her name possibly tied to any or all of these businesses that made her uncomfortable. So she asked as a condition that they buy her out, which does make sense, generally speaking. She says she's not stressed about money and she's okay right now because he has fulfilled those obligations. It was $90,000 from his business partner, Chris Pierce, $6,000 from redacted. Also, they redact audio bits from this video, and then at other points you can tell that they forgot to do it. But like, she's still waiting on one or two more businesses that he was invested in to pay her out, but she feels financially safe right now, other than the sale of the house just being done the day before, that he made his first $4,300 or something like that, like child support alimony payment for the first time since it was new. But she did not feel uneasy about money, and that she'd be good for a good while, and that he was so far living up to the obligations of their mediation. He asks her how she feels about Brandon now, today, October 3rd, 2019, and she says that she's sad about her divorce, worried about him. She does sound sincere in that moment. She said that she senses his stress about money is continuing, that however stressed he seems or how much she cares about him and loves him, that he had started triangulating her family against her with lies and thought that he was living a double life. Then he asks about their family situation. We're going to watch more, but we're going to speed through this. He asks who Brandon has been talking to and who she has been talking to, and she says that Brandon tried to poison her father, Steve Cope, and her stepmom against her to control her by, convincing her family that she needs help, that he told people at church that she was crazy, that she was accusing him of being gay and breaking their family up. She keeps talking about how everything that happens, he twists it onto her. So she was keeping a low profile, that her father kind of came at her in a bullying email, that Brandon was basically like wedging himself between people. She does say that she talks to her grandmother, Janice, and some friends that live near Janice. So that's Janice Cox, Lori's mom. But she doesn't mention Lori. She does not mention that she talks to Lori. Never comes up. So when he figures out, okay, there's not any lingering financial issues, we have to take a Peppa Pig break because kiddo is losing her nuggets in this interview room and is very disruptive. They finally, settle back down, and this is where we're going to start playing a little bit more of this interview, because this is the point in time, about 30 minutes in, where according to the report says, I asked Melani to tell me about her day yesterday. Melani told me that Brandon dropped off child at her house. And here's where it gets dicey. Melani could not remember what she did after she took custody and could not remember for certain what they did yesterday. She said she remembered ordering groceries online and making dinner and going to bed. I asked if she communicated with anyone. She said she received multiple calls from Brandon, which wasn't normal. Otherwise, Melani could not remember if she talked with anyone else. So, let's listen to how Melani answers the question and they talk through what she did yesterday, who she talked to, and elaborates, and they go through it. And you tell us what you think about how this happened.
There we go. Tell me about your day from the moment you woke up to the moment you went to bed last night.
So first and foremost, before we go on, the moment you woke up to the moment you went to bed. Lindsay, does that sound different than what did you do yesterday? Dude, take me through your day. The moment you woke up to the moment you go to bed, that's high pressure for me. I would be like, I don't remember what I ate for breakfast, but sure. The way he phrases the question, listen to her initial reaction and then her explanation, but how would you answer that question?
So when you said the moment you opened your eyes until you went to bed, what did you do? I'd be like, oh, crap. But if you were to ask me, like, generally, what did your day look like? You'd be like, oh, well, I got up, fed my kids, took them to school, came back, did some cleaning, ate some lunch. You know what I mean? Like, just general kind of stuff.
Right.
But when you put, like...
The way he words that question, the moment you got up.
Yeah, it makes me be like, okay, like I got up at like 6:32 a.m. and I scissor kicked out of my bed and went to, you know what I mean? It's a little
right
more.
Bushy-tailed.
Yeah, it's a little more. He wants like succinct answers on that.
Right. All right. I'll hit the play button, and when I figure out naturally where to stop it, I'll stop it. But let's listen to this elaborating response to these questions.
Okay. So he dropped off in the morning.
I will just say there's no problem with the audio and the video. When you hear like gaps, it's because the audio has been redacted. I'm sure it pops up on the screen at the very bottom. And you know what I'm going to do right now? I'm going to turn on the captions just in case. But yeah, there are audio redactions for like names of minors, phone numbers. So bear with me. Here we go.
Also, the audio and the video are not linked, so some of it kind of like bounces around a little bit. That's not us. That's the video.
Right.
Yeah.
Meet there, so we don't have. He'd come to our house to do drop off initially, and kind of got aggressive and stormed into the house to like take something. And so I just asked if we meet at the park. It's probably better. So went to. I don't know. What did we do? Wednesday? Did we go to Aunt Jen's house? We usually just go to the park, we run, sometimes we go to the gym.
Mommy, it's not working.
I only pick up.
Papa told me I'm
Oh,
working.
Daddy. Okay.
Yes, I'll call Daddy.
There you go. That's working.
So
I have her during the day, and then after school on Wednesdays, I pick up my others from school.
around what time?
So at 2:40 we got there, and then it takes like 3:20 to finally pick them up at ALA, and then then we went to Santana Mall and we looked at the puppies, then we played there. We're gonna go grocery shopping, but then we ordered it online through Amazon, and then we my boring life.
No.
And then then we were home. We made dinner and then went to bed. I picked my 4-year-old at Legacy, so it's across the street from us, and he goes to all-day fall break camp right now. So I picked him up at 6, and then came back. We went to bed, and then Brandon started calling me at 8:30 ish, and we were kind of already in bed at that time, so I was kind of in and out of it, and just kind of felt a little unsettled throughout the night, like, is he going to show up at my house? What's going on?
Mm-hmm.
So there's more, but right off the bat, right out of the gate, she does exactly what we would do. Like, oh God, I don't know. What was today yet? Today, I must have asked if it was Wednesday, like 4 times, ironically enough. And I keep saying, oh, tomorrow, insert teenage boy's name here. He has a baseball game. And my husband's like, nope, that's Saturday. I'm like, you're right. It's not Friday. It's Thursday. Like, I'm going to give her the human moment when she's like, oh God, I don't know, dude. What did we do yesterday, kiddo? Like, I get it. But she literally starts detailing, yeah, okay, we did this. I dropped at 2:40, and then, oh, wait, that's right. It's Wednesday. So I remember now. I picked up my kid. Like,
Yeah.
it's a little weird that she's like, well, sometimes we go to the mall and we do this. But the way the report is written, she has no clue what she did yesterday. She said sometimes they go to the park. Sometimes they jump up and down on their heads. Like, she had no clue. And yesterday's just this blur. But she does.
Yeah.
She starts explaining yesterday to him. And there's more, but go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, it definitely, the way that his report reads is not this.
No,
this is not what
not.
I pictured at all.
No, not even close. Okay, all right. I won't hold you in suspense.
So you went to the mall yesterday. Who was with you at the mall?
2. They get out at 3.
Yay,
That's gonna be.
Oh, we went to Jamba Juice too before that. We went to Jamba Juice, and then we went to look at puppies. So this was probably like 4-ish.
Mm-hmm. Did you have anybody else with you besides the kids?
No, just me.
Okay. And then eventually ordered food, ate at home, went to bed. Do you remember what you did between
Mommy, push Papa's
getting
phone.
Grace to picking the kids
Mommy,
up?
I want Papa's
How was that?
phone.
Yeah, so from like 2 to 2:40, we were at the park where Nick ran in, and I was running lunch around the field while she played with the kids there.
Okay.
I don't think we went anywhere because we were gonna go to the gym, but she was like throwing a fit in the back of the car, so I was like, let's just go home. So I just kind of cleaned up the kitchen and we kind of stayed home. She took a nap, and then really the only place we really went was to the park before we picked the kids up.
Okay, so I spent mostly at home in the morning of yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you communicate with anyone that you remember as far as any type of phone calls or text messages or anything with friends or family?
I think I called my grandma. Maybe. I can look on here if she'll let me.
We can look here in a minute. I'll put it. I write notes as I go because my memory's not the best.
Yeah.
So.
I think it was yesterday when she was the message. I was taking a picture of her getting into the plant, sending it to family members because it was cute. I texted my coach. I don't know if I really made any calls.
Did anybody contact you yesterday, just before the evening?
Before the evening, Brandon and I don't think anyone else.
On what happened, though, we can take a look at it here in a second. Okay. All right. So the reason I ask is.
Here we know our first for real legitimate lie from Melani, and why having that burner phone was so important, because maybe it was 2 episodes ago, Melani was talking about how she has this burner phone for emergencies now. She has to know that this moment might be happening where a cop is going to go, well, did you talk to anyone? She volunteers to him. I mean, if you let me look at my phone, I'll let you know who I talked to. But again, she doesn't say, I don't remember, and I don't think this report says she couldn't recall anyone she spoke to and anything that she did. It's not true. She says, I'm pretty sure I called my grandma Janice. I sent a couple cute pictures of the kids getting into the plants. I texted a coach other than Brandon. I don't know, but you can look at my phone if you want. Now, we know from Lori's trial 7 hours ago, yesterday, that there was a half an hour long phone call from Alex to Melani, burner phone, I'm guessing, right after the attempted shooting. So she spoke to her uncle Alex, and she clearly left that out. But again, she doesn't say, I don't know, I didn't talk to anyone, I have no clue. This report reads like she's like, beats me, I have no clue.
Yeah, the report doesn't reflect what we're watching. I mean, again, guys, we know that there's this whole other narrative happening in the background.
Right.
And we love the police, respect, but I know that there was a lot of issues with how people felt that these offices conducted, how they handled these situations. This isn't, to me, a good... I don't know. I don't want to seem too critical, but at the same time, it's like when you read a report and then you watch what actually happened, it isn't a reflection of each other.
She lied to him, but she didn't say, I didn't speak to anyone, I have no clue.
Exactly. There is this background thing happening, which we all know now, right? Yes.
Right. We can at least verify that a phone call between two devices belonging to Melani and Alex Cox took place that morning. She left that out.
But she wasn't being combative or I know nothing.
Or dodgy.
Yeah. It doesn't come across that way to me, at least.
She was even ready with her real phone in hand to go, I don't know, but I feel let me look.
Just look, because all of the actual evidence is on my burner phone that you don't know that I have. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, so the next thing that he says is the reason I asked you here today. I'll play this for just a minute. The report says, I told Melani that someone tried to shoot Brandon yesterday. Melani did not have a change of expression and stayed quiet. The report is pretty accurate here. So I'm just going to read it instead of making everybody watch this, but there's a couple more clips that I want to get to. It then says, I asked if she knew anyone who would want to hurt or kill Brandon. Melani told me that he had a lot of friends, spent time with people she didn't know. She didn't know who he was getting in with, that she knew he was doing a lot of bad business. This is where she starts talking about Charles Vallow and detailing the Chandler police investigation into his death from July. If you don't know that story, we are too far in the rabbit hole to stop and explain it now, but we can point you to some content that does. But she starts talking about the situation with Alex and Charles and Lori and the baseball bat and what happened, and that she thinks it's a closed case. But this is where she explains what happened. And this is where she brings in Brandon, because Brandon and Charles did business together. So let's look at her. We can't see her reaction. Unfortunately, the video is blurred out. We can only hear it. Just for the sake of saying, well, we watched it and we tried to... We can't tell if her expression changed. We can't tell, only except audibly, whether she says or doesn't say anything. But also, you can imagine, let's just pretend again, that if she were completely innocent and not involved in any of this background stuff that led to this, she knows that he's alive, and she knows that at the very least, he's in one piece because he blew up her phone all night long. So for her to react to the cop saying someone tried to shoot him yesterday, I don't know what I would expect, but it's clear that as of last night, this morning, she knows that he's okay at the very least. So I don't know what reaction he was expecting. Probably, oh my goodness. And that's fair, but you know, we'll take a few seconds and we'll see.
But can we all agree if someone's like, your ex was shot at, you'd be like,
right.
I have some questions, you know, like,
right. Like
what are we talking? Yeah. Like, and also, I guess this is just my personality. Walking in there, I'd be like, what's going on? Like, I need to know what's happening right now because I'm nervous. Not that I did anything wrong, but it's almost like she's already kind of knowing what the situation is. And she's just kind of explaining away, like, well, this is what happened yesterday.
Right.
I don't know.
And again, we're not saying that this somehow vindicates Melani and these cops are all dirty.
No.
This is still an odd interview, but this is not what's represented in the publicly available reports that we know about. And we play fair. We're going to play it for you. We're going to point these discrepancies out, especially because we want justice served. And if this is how they're going to get it, it could be real dicey.
Again, we know
they haven't charged her yet, but
yeah. Well, again, we know that she's got her dirty mitts and all of this. However, we're
lost
just
you.
showing like you gotta have the full story, people. Like you gotta know
Right.
both sides. You gotta give
Right.
props, give credit where credit is due. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Let's hear her response, and then we can move on.
We responded to a call for service because somebody tried to shoot Brandon. Returned to his residence, and there's evidence to indicate this to potential, and that's why I called now. Do you have any idea about this, or anybody who would have any desire to do something like this?
I don't know. I know it's
Mommy,
done like
Papa's
five business still.
broken.
I don't know who. I mean, such a huge group of.
Mom! Papa's clothes broken.
Gotta fix that Paw Patrol, man.
That's not
I
Papa's
don't. He just
clothes.
has so many people.
That's
he
not
does
Papa's,
business with.
Mommy.
Like,
Mommy, that's
and
the
people that I just
clothes.
haven't heard good things about, and people he's had around lately that the kids are telling
Mommy,
me about.
that's
But I
not
don't.
Papa's clothes.
So she does this for a couple of minutes. She talks about all the unsavory people that are around, and then she gets into Charles. She starts explaining how Charles passed away and in that whole situation. But again, that doesn't really answer who would want to do this to Brandon. I think what she's trying to say this whole time, and this goes on for about 5 more minutes, I think what she's trying to get at is there could be any number of people that could be, pissed off at Brandon, that don't like Brandon, that did business with Brandon or Charles, and they associate Brandon with Charles. Like, I think that's what she's trying to get at.
It reads very Wendy Adelson. It reads very Wendy Adelson. Like, it could be anybody, but if it's my family, it's fine. Don't get mad at them.
Right.
Like, she just kind of is like throwing, like, it's probably those people. Not over here. There's a lot of drama back
also,
here, but up there, you should look up there. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
What's weird is, no, it's fine. What's weird is she's not like, well, they might want to hurt. Wendy was just like, I mean, my family. This reads more like, well, because of Charles and the businesses they were working with, like Brandon was still involved with those people. And, she starts talking about Charles's character and how he was cheating on her Aunt Lori, and there were threats, and there was a baseball bat, and they do talk about Tylee and JJ and just how they were there. I won't. Y'all can go watch this.
Yeah,
it's interesting, but the report basically in that one paragraph on page 3 kind of summarizes, at least sufficiently enough for me, why she's bringing up Charles, because she's trying to associate that, okay, since they were tied together, maybe those people, that didn't like Charles and Brandon, they still have a bone to pick with Brandon, and that they talked all the time. And this is where she starts to talk about how since Charles's death, just July, August, September, 3 months earlier, that Brandon started ramping up his bad behavior, in her mind at least, that he was trying to put a wedge between her and her family, because he was starting to tell people that what happened to Charles was murder, which we all know. But that this is where the Charles Association comes in, and this is why she's explaining it to him. So again, just like I'm like, okay, but what does this have to do with who would want to hurt Brandon? The investigator asks her a couple of times, like, but how does this tie back to Brandon? And what does that mean? It's honorable mention. She mentions randomly, for zero reason whatsoever, that Alex got in trouble for attacking Joe Ryan. I don't know why she thought it was relevant. I think the investigator was trying to figure out the family tree. Okay, so Charles is your uncle. Well, Alex was my uncle, but Charles is married to my aunt, so that makes him my uncle. And he's like, oh okay, so Tylee's dad? No, Tylee's dad is Joe Ryan. Actually, my uncle Alex got in trouble for attacking him. Like, it was just, he was trying to figure out this ridiculous family tree. And insurance comes up, and she starts talking about how Brandon was talking about murder, and her Aunt Lori was upset because it was very insulting, that Charles didn't leave any children in his care, any money in his insurance policy, and who knows where that money went. And Brandon was insisting that it was murder. So then we start closing in on where we're going with this. So
Yeah, he's
she
like, so that was a
explains
good
that
story.
in the-
So
What does this have to do
again,
with
how?
Brandon?
Yeah, and then, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he was like, I gotta go build a diagram really quick. What names are we
Right.
working with right now? We got a Charles, we got a Lori,
Right.
we got an Alex. Who zapped
Yes.
who? When did that happen? You know, like,
Right.
oh,
So
what a
I would
headache.
play this straight through because it's a good couple minutes, but I'm going to stop it periodically so we can take some bite-sized pieces out of it. We're almost done. I'm going to jump ahead now to our next point here because, again, he's like, so what does this have to do with Brandon? Make it make sense. And she starts getting into a little more that is detailed in this report. Wow, I don't know how to use buttons and stuff here. Here we go. All right. Let's give this a listen.
How does this tie back into Brandon then?
Did business with Charles. He's I don't want the kids to be around Al. And I was like, that's fine. We never see him. He drives trucks and stuff for business, and so we hardly see him anyway.
What she says there, just in case you guys missed, is that Brandon doesn't want the kids around Al, meaning Alex, and she's explaining that he's a truck driver, so he's not around a lot. Just important to note because that was sort of unintelligible, but
They moved out of that house, I believe, and are kind of just been like shooking up everybody, and so I think I'm just trying to have a fresher. And then I think that case is closed, so I just feel some paranoia or something with Brandon. With Charles was doing business with other people, trying to family members and stuff.
Do all live together?
So he's asking her if Lori, Alex, Tylee, JJ, if they live together. She then says she doesn't know, that Tylee is 15 or 16, could be off in college doing her own thing. That was a weird answer. Like, what? Anyway, he starts trying to figure out, so who is around? And the report. Oh, so page 3 of this report is what I have the biggest problem with. It says, and I'll pop it up, Melani denied knowing specific locations for Lori or Alex. She does explain Lori is someone that she trusts, she feels close to. She's like a mom. My mom died when I was really young. It says, per my request, she provided me with identifying information for Alex, Lori, and Tylee. She was unsure if they were living together, but she denied knowing their specific location. The last time that she saw either Lori or Alex was approximately 2 weeks ago before Lori moved, which we know was a lie, based on airfare showing that just days before this she was flying around. But anyway, it also says, I asked for any viable phone numbers or addresses or contact information that could help me reach them. Melani said she would not give that type of information because she was told that people could track phones and use listening devices to gather information. Now let's hear what she really says.
Do you know what that address is where they were living then? Do you know where they're living now?
No, they've kind of mentioned that they just need a fresh start, and I'm sure what's going on in the family. It sounds like looking for them. Lori has that 2-minute insurance policy on her, and so she kind of felt a threat or something through the family. Her other brother.
I'm going to stop here because if I fast forward, which I'm going to do it. I'm going to fast forward so you can hear we're coming back to this moment in time. But I want to close the loop on the whole contact information thing. So I'm going to fast forward just a teeny tiny bit, and then we're going to go backwards because what she says immediately after that last word is like next level. I'm clutching my pearls. We'll put it that way. I was clutching my pearls listening to this. So let's finish the contact bit.
Little and in the dark about a lot of this stuff, and it's all just going with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have any contact information for?
He says Lori.
Mommy.
Have watched me, I don't know, I have their phone numbers, I don't know if they're accurate.
If anything I can get at this point to reach out, because
Yeah. So, okay, so this is my aunt.
okay.
What she's doing right now is giving him phone numbers for Lori
Right now,
and
educate
Tylee
ourselves here.
and people with her phone in her hand.
And you know
She
good
does
and
say she
well,
doesn't
And
know.
everything, like,
Yeah, he's okay.
you know good
This
and
is
well.
also where she just said, "How is Brandon and everything?" Sorry, guys. The caption says burning and everything. She does
Yeah.
slip in there like, so wait, how is Brandon doing? We can talk about that in a second, but like she's literally giving him the exact information that he just asked for. At
Yeah,
no
I mean,
point.
she
No
does.
point in this whole thing does she refuse him anything at
Yeah,
all, actually. So I don't know why they put that on paper. But she did not refuse to give them information or say that she wasn't comfortable.
she said she doesn't really know their address,
If it's
which,
accurate.
if
yeah.
it's accurate, she was like, well, this is the phone number that I have. You know good and well she left that police department and
course.
was like, do not
Of course.
answer that phone call when they
But
call.
that's where she says that Lori's off doing her own thing. Not that Lori like blew her off and managed her own life, girl. That's the excuse she uses, that Lori feels very uncomfortable that people might be after them. So she didn't know if they were going to keep those numbers, if they were still accurate. She's off doing her own thing while I'm doing my thing here. That's the context there. But at no point does she refuse to give him information. Not once. But this report, I'll pop it back up again, blatantly says she's refusing.
I don't hear that.
Like, what? That blew my mind. That blew my mind. But you know what I want to go back to now, right?
Yeah.
He takes one more at-bat here and says, okay, but there's two little pieces. Like, again, do you really know if there's anyone or, like, any reason that someone would want to hurt Brandon?
So,
And,
circling back, yeah.
This is the first part of the answer. There's more. Like I said, we got to bounce around a bit. But I'm going to back up just a smidge more. Okay.
there's policy on her, and so she kind of felt a threat or something through the family. Her other brother, this is where it gets really complicated, so,
She says Adam.
and
They forget to redact it again later on.
for adults with Charles, they were trying to group up. Charles would send a text to them saying, I was at the house, I'm going to distract them. So there was something going on.
She's talking about the intervention.
So I don't know. I think the police department has all like the text stuff between them. But there was just threats going on, and we're going to show you. I don't know.
She literally says there that Adam, Charles, and Brandon were ganging up on Lori and there were death threats. She's talking about the intervention. Now,
Yeah.
do we want to believe that Melani thinks that because that's what Lori told her? You know, I might give her that. Because Lori's a masterclass teacher in manipulation, but she also needs Melani not to like Charles, Brandon, Adam, I would bet that she told Melanie that they were threatening her and ganging up on her versus they're trying to stage an intervention because they think I'm nuts. This is partially why I think Melanie might believe that that might be what was happening. I don't know. Do you all believe that that's what she believed? I'd give her that. What do you think? But what she says after this is really what I want to get to. But I want to ask you first. What do you think?
I think she wants to believe what Lori is telling her.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where she has zeroed in because we know Adam Cox.
Mm-hmm. Very well. We know Adam Cox.
If someone were to tell me that he had planned to pew-pew someone for insurance money, I'd be like, no. No. And he has a history with Melanie. Like, he took her to concerts. They had holidays together. Like,
Summer took her to visit her mother's grave.
yeah.
Like, they were a family.
Yeah, they took flowers to her grave. Like, I think that she was like, I'm in it. I think she wanted to believe what Lori was saying, so she didn't even use that other part of her brain. That's what I will say.
All right. There might be about like 2.5 minutes. We're going to catch right back up to where we were when he asks for the contact information. But the rest of the explanation for who might want to hurt Brandon, just brace yourselves.
So Brandon's close with Adam,
Okay.
and he was close with Charles, and he's close with Zach.
Zach.
My parents don't have any clue what's going on. They've been confused through all of this. They've just been like,
When she says parents, she means Steve Cope and her stepmom, not Lori and Chad.
hearing bits and pieces. It's really confusing. Somehow things have been getting turned, but like, I mean, I know, like, I just want to make sure the kids are safe. First, she's always just been sweet and helps with the kids. Al hasn't been around a lot. When he is, he's super sweet. Adam's kind of has some vengeance against him. She caught him with porn and tried to help him. The intervention. He stole some from somebody in the family. My God.
Well, that's just the first part. You heard that, and if you didn't, because the subtitles suck, that said that Adam hates Lori and has vengeance against her because she busted him with adult entertaining materials and that there was an intervention for him.
She was trying
or
to
there
help
needed
him.
to be an intervention
Yeah.
for him.
Oh,
I'm going to press play so I don't...
So he has some vengeance. So that's why with Charles and let's, you know, team up together or whatever.
And we're saying family, it's LDS, it's the LDS religion, Mormon religion, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know if this confuses you. I'm trying to just
No, this is helpful.
give you everything I have on it.
I'm trying to figure out who
Who belongs to who?
Who's going to shoot Brandon?
Mm-hmm.
Let's add a little bit to it. Do you have anybody in here who would actually have, that you can think of that would actually have a reason to or want to?
Wait for it.
That he's gotten money from. I don't know if Brandon got the life insurance money on Charles, and if there was some agreement they were going to split it. Like I don't know. Like there's no way to even know where that's at. My aunt just said, you know, it can go to us, so we won't be able to support JJ now that this has all happened. Whatever.
Do we know how much Charles' life insurance policy was?
Charles's was $1 million.
How do you know?
I don't know how it made sense to give that answer. I don't know if Brandon got Charles's insurance money and they were going to split.
How would that even
that would
make
mean
sense?
that she's accusing Brandon of being involved with Charles. Like, first of all, why would Charles be leaving his insurance money to Brandon? They may have rode out, but that's weird. But also, that would mean that Brandon was holding out that maybe one day Charles might kick the bucket and he might get some money, and he and Adam were like, you know what, let's just wait till he's dead and then one day we'll be rich. Like, that just makes no sense.
She don't know. She just...
What?
She
That's
is
so
just...
stupid.
She is so lost in this weird vortex of idiocracy.
Like, oh my God, what weird ass backwards explanation was that? Maybe Brandon was going to get the insurance money and he's mad that he didn't. Well, he can't be mad at, like, what?
And our
This was
homie,
just the most ridiculous thing that I've ever heard.
yeah, and our friend
Almost.
our friend doing the interview is like, I don't even know who we're talking about right now. There's so many names thrown out right now. I have to go again. Excuse me while I build my diagram because I need you to point who we're talking about.
So he does that one more time. He tries it. I might be a couple of seconds back. I might have to fast forward a little bit. I just don't want to go right by it.
Still here
But
in Phoenix, or is she out somewhere else? Or
I can fast forward there's like a hair more. Let's see. It's about the 50-minute mark, so we're about 15 seconds out.
Okay.
But he asks her a final time, like, okay, so like again,
I've just been kind of
like
you know,
who wants to hurt Brandon?
she's careful to give me any information.
This is where she says that Lori is nervous about giving out personal information, where she lives, her phone number,
Right.
because she thinks people are after her. So that was the context with which Melani said, you know, information might not be accurate, but this report blatantly says she doesn't want to give that information because people could be listening. I'm like, that's just a lie.
Yeah.
It's just a lie.
Yeah.
Sorry, but it's right after this where he asks.
Because I've been told to
Gosh.
my phone, listening devices in my house, I've been told, so
The listening devices in her house.
I understand she needs her
I'm
space.
guessing
I
she
love
had
her and I
to
miss
do
having that relationship, like, you know, with her, but I know she's got to do her own thing, and I got to figure out my own divorce with Brandon, so.
So anyway,
Okay.
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 Anything else you can think of right now related to somebody trying to kill Brandon?
I'm gonna let it play.
I know his business partners are very upset with him right now. They didn't like having to buy me out. I know they're all stressed about money. He has, so the way that his company works, guys make money underneath him. And so I probably prevent him leaving the company. Money floating around. I don't know if I guess my first would be Adam, just because I know he has a gun, and kind of, I don't know. Yeah.
Has anybody expressed wanting to do anything to him?
I'm gonna stop it there. There's one more bit. We're almost at the end. The first person I would guess would be Adam, because I know he has a gun. Can we phone a friend right now and ask Mr. Cox if he's ever owned a gun? What?
She
She name dropped. That's Wendy Adelson. She Adelson the hell out of Adam.
That's an Adelson move.
But you know what, Lindsay? Is not in this damn report any of this.
Any
None
of Adam
it.
Cox. Well,
None of this important information where she points fingers, or none of it appears in this supplemental report.
but
None of it.
that wouldn't even make sense, though.
Still, that's pretty big context you left out of a report about significant pieces of your conversation, where you're asking if she can think of anyone that might want to hurt Brandon, and she names the puppy several times. Now, I'm glad that, you know,
Yeah, no.
obviously by now we know that Adam was clearly not, but that, at that point in time, probably should have been something you put in your report.
Yeah, like she mentions Adam Cox,
Zach.
Zach.
She name drops a bunch of people.
Yeah, and you know,
And
something
accuses Adam.
and I don't remember in the report him saying anything about her feeling like there was some sort of thing between Charles and Brandon and the life insurance policy and stuff like that.
It's in here, but it's not in here at this
Yeah,
moment.
so, but
She
I
talks
guess,
about insurance. She talks about,
yeah,
you know, the money issues and Brandon's behavior ramping up after Charles died, and like, but she doesn't. It's not really quite in there like that. Yet another detail. And a summary is a summary, but that's missing.
But this whole story that she's building is not in the report that we read. That's the
Also,
point.
I'd like it to be noted here that it says conclusion. At the conclusion of the interview, Melanie asked if Brandon was okay. Also not true. That was way back a good number of minutes ago. She didn't wait till the end. It was right in the middle. She's like, okay, but also is Brandon okay? So that's a really weird representation of her reaction.
Yeah.
Almost as if to say like she wasn't surprised and she waited, which was a little bit mind-blowing because that's definitely not the order of events, and it literally says that that's what happened. But we're nearing the end, and he takes another whack at it about a few minutes to the end here, and she doubles down.
By the way, friends, if you have sat and listened to this all in one sitting,
Thank you.
thank you. We love you.
Appreciate you.
We're rounding it out though, right, Kimbo?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You know, like I posted this was going to be a long one.
Yeah.
You've been warned, and then
You've
I
been
said
warned.
it again.
And you know what? You can hit pause and come back.
Right, but we're talking to you like we're talking to each other. So
I know.
Here we go. Okay, here's where we're closing it up, and he's like, "All right, what? I got to do this one more time. Why the hell would someone hurt Brandon?"
It just,
There are some pieces to this investigation that are still getting put together, right? First up, is there any reason why would Adam want to hurt or kill Brandon?
the only thing I can think of is that no one knows where that life insurance money is, and if it went to somebody, which Brandon and Charles were directly doing business in life insurance together, if somehow it, share, I don't know, like, always kind of acted they were, but she's been really close with a lot of friends, and it turned sour really quick.
She basically says that I don't know where Charles' insurance money went. Maybe they were going to split it and it went bad.
These people
What?
and this insurance money.
Oh,
I just.
So I'm
Yeah.
going to stop sharing my screen though, because really
Okay.
this wraps up with her sort of
Yeah.
asking questions that we think make sense. Like, are my kids going to be safe at his house? And,
Yeah.
you know, all that fun jazz. But like, I have to fix my hair. I'm so frustrated by this.
Well, here's the thing. Like, again, for like the fifth time, we know Melanie's got stuff going on in the background that she does not offer up in these interviews, obviously, right?
and evidence and things that have come out in other trials where it's like,
Yeah.
sure thing, sweet pea.
Yeah, she was not completely honest in this. However, if I, like we just read the report as it was, and then watching the interview, it's not the same.
It's not the
It's
same.
not reading the same.
It's not the same in critical ways. It's not like,
Yeah.
oh, they could have elaborated more here, or
She was putting names and, places and, ooh.
And I just, on the one hand, I see why someone might feel motivated to paint this interaction a certain way. Or here's what I think, though. I think this investigator, I work in, we'll just say, very security-like.
She has a certain set
Long
of
pause.
skills.
I can't tell you what it is, where it is that I work, but one of the things that I have to teach people regularly is how to write incident reports and or send emergency messaging. And it always, 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 first and foremost, you may report your observations. You may report facts that are observable. You may report things that can be verified, but you cannot put yourself, your opinions, or your guesstimates or your perceptions. A tall guy. Well, how do you know he was tall?
Yeah.
If you're looking at a security camera just because he might be tall, like, you can't put yourself and your suppositions into reporting because that's subjective. You can only put clearly observable, factual things into a report. This investigator missed that day of class because this is riddled with assumptions, inferences, and then is missing things that should be there, but also, I'm sorry, blatantly does more than gild the lily in certain places. And it's not because we're Team Melani, but I'm also not about cheating to win the game.
Yeah, we don't do that.
We don't need to deflate the football around here.
Yeah,
like, let's
and
make it fair.
there's plenty of other evidence that points to Melanie knowing what was actually happening, right? I mean,
Right.
I don't remember reading in all the 300 and some odd pages of documents about we talked to Adam after Melanie left and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Or anything of that nature, unless they're like, we already know that there's no way that that happened because we've already investigated Adam to a T. Even if that were the case, they could have put that in the report and said, we know that's not true.
Right. So this doesn't help, but if this is I almost made fun of myself for saying the wrong word, and then I didn't even say the wrong word. But if this is an indication of the level and caliber of work they did, I can understand why it might have been taking so long to get from A to B to this point where they could possibly charge her.
Yeah.
But also, like you were mentioning, we talk a lot about this offline. Rachel Smith and her game playing has been pretty good, and her calls have been pretty accurate, and the tactics for waiting to the end to get to Melanie. She's on the Wendy Adelson track. We think that'll happen too, but if this is the work they were doing at the time, I sure hope it's improved.
Yeah.
This did not inspire any more confidence than we already didn't have in the Gilbert Police Department, so I hope that if they are going to barrel straight ahead and just finish this, because that's the last bit for me at least that I think is missing. Melanie needs to be held accountable. She's the last one left.
Yeah.
I'm very concerned about that. But I want to know the evidence now. What do you have that makes sense? Because this...
Well, they got Lori with, 20 minutes of deliberations or something like that with a conspiracy.
My hat's off. Y'all, which is the pizza franchise where if it's 30 minutes or more, it's free? They beat
Is that
the
Domino's?
pizza.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. They beat
yeah.
the pizza with this verdict.
They did. You know, it's going to be interesting to see Melanie's story play out if she's like, I know everything. I know who and what. I'll sing like a bird. Don't take my kids.
Uh-huh.
Who?
I hadn't thought about that yet. You were thinking well ahead of me. Like, would she make a deal?
Yeah. And the prosecutor may say, it's too late. It's too late.
Maybe.
Who
Unless
knows?
she can give them credible information that helps them with information they don't currently have.
Yeah.
That could bring resolution to other victims or solve other crimes or tie in some important bit they don't have that maybe, but you're right, it could be too late for her. Unless it's just a matter of, I want a lesser sentence, so I'll just plead guilty.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Who knows? Honestly.
She was not on a witness list, and she did not get any immunity on the off chance she'd be attending Lori's last trial that just concluded today. So I don't think they're playing around, but I also think they're playing the wrong game, and they're using like the safety bumpers with these reporting tactics. We did another episode that got really jacked up. I tried to edit the bejesus out of it. It just would not work. And we were reading text messages between Lori, Zulema, and Alex that I'm going to try to salvage because there's another Nephi reference in there that would be great to hear. But the very top said reprot. If that gives you any indication of how many times I had to stop and fill out a bingo card for how cringe that reprot was, I'm not confident. But
I killed half of Kimberly making her read some of the grammatical errors because she was just like
messages.
I can't with this, and I'm like, nope, keep going, reading it.
Oh, a hiplos reference, the H be silent, eplos, and then the line underneath, the H is silent. I'm like, oh, okay, so this is going to be a dramatic Shakespearean reading of this. Like, it was entertaining, so maybe if I can salvage it, I will post it.
Or we may try to re-record it. I don't know. What would
Alex's
we have
trial
options.
consisted of? We're just beating the horse, but we're just glad you're here 90 minutes later or so. Not that we didn't warn you it was long. I hope you stuck around.
There's always the pause button.
tell us what you think about the discrepancies in this information. And is it significant? Does it bother you? Or is it just like, wow, man, we do our due diligence around here. So when someone gave us the link, first thing I did was go watch that video, and it did not match. And our criticism, some of it I will retract because it didn't make sense. Now it does, but she's still guilty of sin. I'm willing to come to the middle and say, okay, well, my impression may have been wrong because this is how you were represented, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So, made my peace with that. But what do you guys think?
Yeah. Regardless, we still feel the same way. We just want everything to be honest. Equity. Kimberly,
Equitable.
can you show our friends out?
Ooh, well, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. But we do hope that you'll come back if we haven't lost your attention span by now. So please make good choices. Please, please, please make good choices. And we will see you soon. Bye, guys.